Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. You know when I'm smiling as we start that we have been laughing and chatting up before we started taping, and that is indeed the case once again today because, of course, look who I got with me that help out with the hilarity. Mr. Simon Bray, Mr. Steven Reid. What's up, guys?
All good here. Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
And all is well with Simon, I'm sure.
Yes. And no, we weren't talking about Vince Neil beforehand. Not at all.
Wankers. Absolute wankers. Really?
Are you going to mind during the show?
No, but you know, when I saw him 2 weeks ago, last weekend, he's lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
Good for him.
Good for him. Yeah.
Did he do better than normal, or?
I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah. Okay.
Genuinely entertained. Not necessarily all in a good way, but nonetheless, he was way better than I thought. And Mrs. Simon was wondering why they had a chipmunk singing for them, but you know, such is life.
Well, I'm in no position to cast aspersions because by the time that this goes out, I will have seen Kiss last week. And I'll tell you how good they were because I haven't seen them yet.
There you go. I will say that.
I will have seen Kiss last week as well.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I have.
I've seen them on Friday. It's not true. This is not true. We're lying. This is not true. I can't keep it going.
I did just see Metal Church.
We're lying to people.
I saw Metal Church.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
How was the new vocalist live? Because he's great on the album.
Great. Really good.
Yeah. Really good on the album.
Really good. Unfortunately, the place where they played, which is the Chance here in Poughkeepsie, it was like 1,000 degrees in there because for whatever reason, the Chance is like the only venue on the face of the earth that doesn't believe in air conditioning and doesn't even put fans up in the venue in the middle of the summer. So like I felt really bad for my buddy Kurt Vanderhoof, who was up there. He had to literally sit down in between each song because he was getting heat absorption. The whole band was like, you could tell they were struggling up there, and it was so hot in there. I was like, Jesus, come on, man. It's like, this is 2023. If you can't have AC in a concert venue, in a small one, at least put some fucking fans around, you know? It's just like, it's ridiculous.
If you can't have AC in a concert venue in this day and age, then you're in the UK. I don't think I've ever been in one that does.
Really? No, here, most of them have them here now. So.
Yeah, it's cold here, though, so it's not that hot, put it that way.
Yeah. So we've got a fun show for you planned today. We're, of course, doing AOR Melodic Rock Trio. We got 3 albums, one a classic, one an underground kind of album, and another one is they did an AOR Melodic Rock album. But before we get to all that and we talk about the albums, we've got a little bit of business to take care of ahead of time. Simon, what are you drinking today?
Okay, I've got Lost Dark Magic, which is, as my wont is, it's a stout. It's from North Wales, from the Polly's Brewing Company. It's 6%. It's looking kind of purpley, so let's hope it doesn't come out as being purple. But yeah, Lost Dark Magic. Let's find out. And just for you, Stephen, I brought an actual glass along again.
Ooh,
I do. I mean, I do love the
goblet.
But I like to see the beer.
Oh, well, you can certainly see the froth. I'll show you the beer very, very shortly. Oh, Jesus.
I love the can. I love a purple can, so that's very, very cool.
Yeah, that is awful.
Unfortunately, in the Zoom, we can't really get the over-under.
Good.
Speaking over
Good.
You.
Well, it's obviously not ready yet, shall we?
Not ready yet. No.
Will we come back to you, Simon?
We'll let it settle.
Okay, we'll let it settle.
For a day or so.
Because mine has settled. And I poured it really well, so I could have poured it live, but there you go. I have got, from the Thistle Brewery, I've got a coconut vanilla porter. That's what I've got, which I do like the way they've shortened the name on the back, because on the back it says Coco Van Porter. He definitely sounds like Chelsea's latest signing with that name, doesn't he? But there you go. So, never had this before, but it looks like this in the glass. Like, looks lovely.
I am a huge coconut fan. I am anxiously awaiting how that is.
Oh, it is magnificent. Oh, it's really good. You get the sweetness of the coconut. It is there. You can taste it. There's a hint of vanilla. It's deep. It's chocolatey. Oh, That's excellent. That's really good. It's really good.
I am extremely jealous. And you want to know why I'm extremely jealous? Because yesterday was 4th of July here in the States. And so we had a long holiday weekend, and there isn't a drop of beer left in my house. So I am just drinking a orange guava pineapple iced tea, unsweetened today. That's it. I didn't have any time to go to the beer store today.
So yesterday was the 4th of July.
Yes.
Mm.
No, not really, but yeah. You know.
Surely it was Friday, which wasn't the 4th
Friday,
of
July. I'm totally lost on dates. We just burned the fourth wall once again here on the UK Connection.
Yes. It was 14th of July yesterday.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I can't. I've been sleeping for the last week apparently. So yeah, I will make up for it though next time.
That's why there's no beer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Steven, boy, I am highly interested in that. In fact, now you just reminded me, a local brewery that I like quite a bit. I actually, you know what? I don't love them. Their beers are ordinary, but they have one of my favorite beers, and it's a coconut cream ale, and it is absolutely delicious. And they only do it once or twice a year, and they have it on tap right now. And I need to get my ass over there tomorrow and get a couple of growlers or not the crawlers they call them, because they don't sell them in like 4-packs or 6-packs. You got to go get the tall boy thing. It's really, it's ridiculous, because I want to buy a lot of it, but I don't want them all sitting around.
I have to stop you, Peter, because growler is a different parlance over here. I'm just going to say,
really, no, growler is a little jug that you put beer in here.
Can I just say that if you were drinking out of a growler on this show, we would definitely be demonetized. Okay, I'm just putting that out there.
Well, interestingly enough, the majority of people who watch the show happen to be from the UK, so they're probably all wondering what the fuck he's talking about right now, meaning me. All right, so let me just set the record straight. Here in the US, if you go to a brewery, they sell these glass jugs that called growlers, and they fill up your beer. You take them home and you drink it at home. That's
I've got a growler in the cupboard behind me.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm afraid to ask what that is. Maybe I don't want to know.
That you get beer in. It is a thing, but Stephen is correct. Over here, a growler is very much not really a drink.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
I would relate that word to, oh, I'll show you me growler. But okay, let's not go there. Okay.
Nobody's ever said that to me. No. Wow.
You hear they say I'm taking a growler home with you. That's what they say. You say, yes, I got my empty one. Here you go. And then they ask you, is it clean? Did you wash it? And you say, yes. I mean, that's normal here.
I like good hygiene. Absolutely.
Yeah. But of course, then you have the occasional idiot who never washes their growler, and the person who's working at the brewery opens it up and it smells like funky old beer, right? And then they got this.
That is more correct than you will ever know.
Anyway.
Oh, okay. Yes. How's your beer settled, Simon?
Currently looks like it comes from Costa and has popcorn on top of it. So yeah, I'll sample it during the first album. I'm absolutely confident of that.
Okay. Speaking of, I'll turn it over to Steven to introduce our selections for the day.
Quick introduction to the 3 albums for the show. So the classic, and yes, it's controversial. Yes, it's not the classic. I know. Okay, so this is Third Stage by Boston. It is therefore the 3rd album. And I know that the classic's a debut, but we've already covered it in depth in a classic album show. So we didn't want to do it again. And we didn't really Don't Look Back in great detail on that show, but I think we discussed it enough that it was worth leaving both of those alone and going for Third Stage. So that's the classic. The underground classic should have been huge, whatever you want to call it, is the debut album by Crown of Thorns from 1994. Okay, I'll give you more detail on these when we come to them. And they made an AOR album is Sayogo by Blackfoot from 1983. So that's the 3 albums that were coming on the show. Okay, so to go into the Boston album, so this is the 3rd one. Okay, it was released through MCA in 1986. The band's lineup was Tom Schultz on, and I'm going to quote from here, okay? Piano, Hammond, theatre organ, guitar, bass, some drums, guitar, violin, rocket ignition, thunderstorms, and unidentified flying objects. Now, everybody else in the band
basically
said,
everything, right?
well, yeah, and everyone else in the band said really boring by comparison, because Brad Delp, vocals, acoustic guitar, and percussion. Sib Hashian played drums on the first 2 albums. He plays drums on the first 4 songs here. A bit confusing. Jim Mazdia, who was in the band prior to the debut and supposedly kind of helped with arrangements and various things, he plays on the last 6 songs on this album. And then you've got Gary Pill from, probably best known from Sammy Hagar's band, plays lead guitar on I Think I Like It. Unsurprisingly, Tom Schultz produced the album. Okay, so the band's debut was 76. Don't Look Back arrived 2 years later. This took 8 years to be released. It was very much a joke at the time. Bands didn't take this length of time to do things. And indulge me, because the liner notes, I mean, this is how to do an inside gatefold, by the way. You know, the liner notes on the inside are fantastic, because according to Tom, this was an unusual recording project. How many studios could you walk into and find the guitarist punching the tape deck controls with his right foot or blasting power chords out on an amplifier the size of a peanut butter sandwich? How many projects could you listen to in 1980, 81, 83, 84, 85 and find someone still working on the same song? Then he's put, it's been a long time. Time to record an album is usually measured in months. After the first 2 or 3 years, I began to lose perspective of the months, and I discovered other ways to measure progress. 175 light bulbs burned out in the studio before I did. The record button was pushed nearly 1 million times. That's 1 million chances to accidentally erase something. Over 100 reels of tape were filled with music. Brad produced over 300 P-pops, and I lost my pick at least 1,000 times. I could go on. That it's all kind of written in that kind of way, where he's as much taking the mick out of what's happened, I think, as everybody else already had. So impressively, after all that time, it still went to #1 in the US, went 4 times platinum, #1 in Canada, went 3 times platinum. It only got to number 37 here in the UK. It got to 13 in Switzerland, 15 in the Netherlands, 23 in Sweden, 25 in Germany, and 35 in Australia. The first single from the album, Amanda, went to #1 in the US and Canada, and already reached #9 in the US. Then Can't You Say You Believe in Me, Stroke Still in Love, got to number 20. Here in the UK, Amanda soared up the charts to number 84. And Can't You Say You Believe in Me bettered it by going to 82. Okay, this would also be the band's last album for another 8 years, by which time only Tom remained from the debut album lineup. Although in fairness, he really is Boston. Yeah. So there you go, 3rd stage.
All right. Simon, what say you?
I've always taken the sleeve notes kind of like face value at him, saying, look at me, I'm the hardest working man of all time. I'm not sure there's that level of self-awareness. It's brutal, because he takes himself quite seriously, doesn't he?
He does, to be fair.
And that Rich should be heading my way in 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah, exactly. So when you proposed 3rd stage, and I like that you stopped calling it 3rd stage. He's well done.
Thank you. I know I cringed when I realised I'd done that.
It's okay, because you put it in all the emails as well. But anyway, yeah.
In green, no less. In green, no less.
Yeah.
People,
fine.
what is he talking about?
So you wrote it, and then you even went over it in a different color and continued, and then you said it actually.
I could bore you to death. I mean, everyone knows about the list. Okay, that is already, legendary. But the list is different colours so that I can understand which album falls into which category. I am that boring. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyhow, this has made it to the top of the
Feel free
list
to
for this week.
disagree.
What this record really, really suffers from, and you know, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% confident it's a classic album. What it really suffers from is not being the first Boston album.
Yeah.
That's what it really suffers from, because there's some really good shit on here. The guitar work is exemplary throughout, isn't it? And it is on all Boston albums. As they get on, the drums get, what the fuck? But you know, still, really, what? How can you have such a great sounding record as the first one? And as you get on, oh dear, oh yeah. This here we're still sounding good. I think it's oddly sequenced. I know Amanda was the first song written, so it says in the liner notes. Not that many albums start with the ballad, are they? Just very odd, and then it goes into like this kind of concepty kind of bit about, you know, hey, I don't know, space is the thing. I don't know. I just can't tell. Just not sure. You know, the launch, we're ready, cool the engines, my destiny. I think there might be, yeah. And then it ends up with Holly Ann. So the two songs about women in his life bookend the album, and you know, there's the odd track that's about 8 seconds long, and you know, yeah, parts of it are really, really good, and parts of it just kind of don't hang together. I love it. I love Amanda. I love a big ballad. You know, I love Holly. I'm not going to sing "Can't You See You Believe Me" like you just did, but that's great as well. Brad Delp's brilliant throughout. What a surprise! It's just not the first record, which, you know, how do you exist when you've made something that is practically perfect? How do what do you do with your art at that point? Because you want to create very slowly for your Tom Scholz, don't you? But you know, you must know that you've been to the top of the mountain, and the only way is down.
Yeah,
you know, and
you set the bar so high right out of the gate. There's nowhere else to go, right?
Exactly. You know, there's a lot of diminishing returns through the catalogue, isn't there?
Yeah.
But the high points are really high, the low points are, but you know, there's some really good shit on it, and the guitar work is just great throughout. Really, really is. Yeah. So third stage, classic, maybe not. Who knows? But the problem we have with this particular series is that certainly over here, melodic rock / AOR has never been that big, has it, Stephen?
No, not really. It's there's been a few big songs, and some acts, the heritage acts, are bigger now than they were at the time, I would suggest.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of sales and chart presence and TV time and all this kind of stuff, as bands were getting elsewhere in the 80s, not over here. No, not at all, really.
Yeah, I was speaking to our decorator today, like you do, and she was saying she's desperate for Journey to tour, and they've played arenas in last, semi recently when they've turned up, haven't they? And back in the day, that certainly wouldn't have happened, and therein lies part of the problem that I think we're almost beginning to struggle for classic albums, aren't we? So, this is the second time that we've gone for Boston, and maybe this isn't an all-time absolute complete classic. It's very, very good, but would you put it up there with the debut? Therein lies the big question, I feel.
Yep, good point.
Also, I'm now going to have a sip of my drink.
There you go. Look, looks good.
Yeah, I mean,
full of stouty goodness.
Sorry, say that again, Sam.
Full of stouty goodness.
It looks really good now. Now that it's calmed a little.
It really has. Look at that. It's beautiful. Previously that was the size of the head, so I apologize. It looked, yeah. Thank you. So yeah, third stage. Over to you, dudes.
Yeah, I mean, we covered the debut as the ranking the songs on a classic album, and I was a little wary of then including a Boston album as a classic album, but it still sold classic album volume. It still spawned a #1 hit single. I was a little surprised when I went and looked at some of the stats for this album, because it is very much the little brother of the two albums that came before. Everything's very, very much a little brother to the debut, both in terms of success, sales, and how good it is, to be fair. But I mean, it does drop off from 13 million sales from the debut to 4 million for the third album. There's a long time in between. There's 10 years in between those two albums, with an album in between, which was also mega successful. I think this just about holds up to the company that it keeps. It's just about up there with the first two albums, but it's always just about, yeah, Amanda's an odd opener. It's a great song. It's super hooky. It's super memorable. Brad's vocals are just so on the money. I mean, he's obviously outstanding throughout. That you just can't argue with that. It is an odd way to introduce an album, great song and single though it may be. And then We're Ready pulls off that kind of great Boston trick of mixing restrained passages with sections that rock much harder than you think this band ever really did. In my mind, Boston are always quite smooth and slick, and then you go back to listen to these albums, you go, no, they rock quite hard.
Oh yeah,
At times as well. But then, yes, and especially after a 6-year recording process and 8-year wait, the 3-part, the launch, that kind of, is it a story? It's a non-story story. What is it? Don't really know. But crank it up. It's grandiose and it's expansive and it's interesting. On quite a short album, it's quite a lot of fluff, though, it has to be said. You know, that it doesn't really do very much. It doesn't really go anywhere. If you cut about 2/3 of it off and put it at the start of the album, yeah, okay. Kind of makes much more sense, and it kind of feels like there might be a concept at play and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Cooley Engines, it's a bit simpler, hugely effective. The guitar line in that song is just fantastic. But then, yeah, as so many albums did, side 2 doesn't quite live up to what's come before. The closing pair, Can't You Say, which does go into the sugary sweet Holly Ann, but it's awfully good. I mean, it's softy-tastic, but it's as softy as go. It's a good softy. I do like it. Same again, it's an odd way to leave you. Do you know, it just kind of, the album meanders away, and I suppose it kind of fits the space age cover and all that sort of stuff. It kind of flits off into the ether, but it still kind of leaves you going, yeah, it's a great song, and I still sing along with it. Do you know, so I think there's an effort to do something a little different here. But what it tends to do is muck about with the pace a little bit, rather than really play with the Boston themes and the Boston trademarks. And there are little snatches, not whole songs, where you think, have I put the wrong album on? Is this the debut? There are little sections in songs where you kind of think, I've actually heard this part before. Do you know? And because we are only 3 albums in, no matter how long has passed, that's a bit, and it does bring it down a little notch. So is it a classic? Well, it sold 4 million copies. It went to #1 in more than one place, had a #1 hit single. In the terms of what we're trying to say the classic album is, it fits that mold, but the other 2 albums by the band prior to this are classicer.
yeah.
So I still like it a lot, though. I do like this album a lot. I've given it a little bit of a hard time there. I like this album a lot. It just can't live in the company that it keeps.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy this album, and I always have. I'm a big fan of this band, and those first 2 albums, dynamite, right? First album, legendary. Second album, really strong. I remember when I first got this album. I remember it took so long for this to come out, and I came to an opinion on this album when it first came out, and a couple of years afterwards, that after listening to it again this week, my opinion is exactly the same as it was nearly 40 years, 30 some odd years ago. There is a hauntingly cold feeling I get when I listen to this album, like something that was gestating for way too long, that one guy took way too many years to meticulously put things together. It sounds very mechanical to me. It doesn't sound spontaneous at all to me. And there's like this ghostly feeling I get when I listen to this album. And at times it makes for an uncomfortable listen, even though I really like a good chunk of the album. And I don't know if you guys get that at all. It just there's this hauntingness, and again, is that even a word? I don't know, that I get when I hear this. And it's on every single Boston album afterwards, as if Tom was piecing together all these little bits from here and there. And it's even worse, like after Brad died and he's using vocal lines that he had on tape. And I get that starting with this album. But in saying that, Amanda is a great song. Great song. Cool the Engines, absolutely terrific, kick-ass rocker. Can't You Say You Believe in Me, Still in Love is a great, catchy song. And I absolutely love Holly Ann. I mean, that chorus kills me every time. The big, heavy guitar chords, Brad's vocal, doesn't get much better than that. But in between, man, To Be a Man, My Destination, the instrumental bits, whatever. We're Ready's good. That's a good anthem. So for me, it's like half this album is great, just what I want to hear from Boston. The rest of it, I don't enjoy all that much. And again, I can never shake that feeling I get when I listen to it. I swear to God, I played it the other day, and I'm just like, oh man, it sounds like an album that like some mad scientist and a bunch of ghosts put together. I don't know what it is. I can't shake the feeling I get when I hear this. It just doesn't sound, you like rock music to sound kind of spontaneous and like, we got together, we made this album, and it sounds very fabricated. Again, most of it works. Like Simon said, the guitar work is amazing. I love the guitar tones and all that, but I don't know. There's just something that never sat well with me. And saying that though, I do like it a lot in spots. It is the baby brother to the first two, and each album after this, more of those qualities came into play for me, and each one took another decade or whatever to come out. So I don't know. Is it a classic? I'd argue that some of it absolutely is, but there's, and what I will say is I think this album, more so than the first two, belongs on a melodic rock AOR show. Because I think the first two albums are more straight hard rock albums with great hooks and things. I think when you listen to a chunk of the songs on this album, it's more in line with what we talk about on this segment of the show every couple of weeks. So I think it was actually a great choice for the melodic rock AOR show. Whether it's a classic or not, that I don't know. But it's Boston. It sold a gazillion copies, like you said, #1 hit. So I guess it is a marginal classic.
It's interesting hearing you say that, because I've always liked this album. Maybe more than it came across when I'm talking about it. Maybe more than when I really analyse it. I think what it maybe lacks, compared to most of the albums that we've covered on this show, is a bit of fun. There's some really great moments and some really catchy songs and some really great choruses and some awesome guitar playing. Great vocals. It's not a lot of fun. It's not uplifting, it's not upbeat. You're never really going to punch the air to it. I couldn't imagine it. I've never saw the band live, and I would like to have seen the band live. I couldn't imagine it kind of, if you went out and said, you know what, we're going to do the third stage tour. I couldn't imagine the arena on its feet for this one. So I kind of get what you mean.
I mean, even my favorite song on here is Holly Ann. I love it. I get chills when I hear it, but it's not a happy song. There's a somberness to it that I find is dripping throughout this whole album. Like Tom was going through some kind of pain in his life, or maybe the pain of meticulously spending so much time and effort and hours and money putting this together. That kind of, I think, saps the more happy anthemic quality of the first two albums. I don't get that on here, even though I really like a lot of it. It's not an easy listen. Never was. It still isn't. I was, when I went into this recently, I was hoping that I would get a different kind of take on Third Stage after not hearing it for a number of years, and it hits me the same way. Doesn't mean I don't like it, because I do, but it's just, man, it's just not. There's a quality to those first two records. There's even a little bit of this in the second album. But like that first album, that's just feel good, high energy rock and roll. They try on this album, or he tries on this album. It doesn't always work, even though the material is really good. I have a hard time shaking it. And it's a feeling I have throughout the rest of the catalog from this point on. This kind of like ominous I don't know what it is. I've never been able to describe it. It's just, it's cold. It's like overly calculated, overly meticulous, and there's no emotion on it. That's what it
You
is.
said sterile.
Sterile.
Yeah.
That's exactly
That's
it.
great word,
That's 100%. And if it wasn't for Brad's vocals, it would be even worse. Because at least with Brad's vocals, you can get into it. But then when Tom started using recordings from Brad's after he was already gone, it's just like, this is creepy, right? That's another word. It's creepy. It's like there's something that I can never put my finger on. I like it. I enjoy it. But I'm just like, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, when I've been listening to it, I just really, really wanted to move the songs around. And I know you can do that.
Oh, yeah.
They're sequenced for a reason, aren't they? Because, this is an LP. This came out during the time of LPs. There's a reason why. But in my head, I think that needs to go. That needs to be at the start. This needs to be moved around. And it reminds me in some ways of when we were looking at A Night at the Opera the other week. You would miss 39 and the other, weird songs, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd necessarily miss The Lunch.
Yeah, that's very true.
Did you mind if they started off this album Cool the Engines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Or, even The Launch, and they could call it intro.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you launched the album. That's what I said. It's still too long for that.
Yeah.
But if you could make it a couple of minutes at a push, then yeah, I think it's a good intro. But as it is, it just interrupts the flow of an already oddly sequenced album. I put in my notes that side one's almost perfect, but that's overplaying its hand, to be fair, because there are too many faults with the side. But that just plonked right in the middle of side one just makes you kind of slam on the brakes and go, what are we doing this for? Why are we here? What's happening? Is this a concept album? Even all these years later, I go look for some evidence that because we've got a launch and a Cooley engines is it a concept album? You read the rest of the lyrics and think, well, no.
Yeah.
Unless I've missed that. I'm sure somebody in the comments might correct me on it. But it's a strange album that I really still quite like.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's weird, when was the last time we had a discussion about an album like this where we're all kind of like, we really like it, but a lot of weirdness about it, right? And I bought it when it first came out, so I've got a lot of history with this record, and my opinion hasn't changed in all these years at all. But I still like it. I'm just kind of like, man, it's the weird record. Anyway, on to the next.
Okay, so this is the underground classic. Okay, so this is Crown of Thorns, and this is our self-titled debut. It was released in 1994 through the UK boutique label, I suppose we would class them as now and then, much missed, short-lived. So the lineup for the debut was Jean Beauvoir on vocals, guitars, and keys, who had already been with the Plasmatics. He was in Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. As a songwriter and a producer, he was already beginning to kind of make his name as well. But prior and post, he would work with bands like Kiss, the Ramones. He'd worked with Glenn Hughes, Doro, Debbie Harry, Lordi. He's a talented guy who can do lots of things. On guitar, you've got Mickey Free, who is also best known for being in Shalamar, okay, and not really a huge amount else, although he is on a couple of Jean Beauvoir solo albums, as you may expect. They're very good, by the way. And the Wendy O. Williams album, wow, he's on that. But to be fair, if I'd been half an hour earlier, I could have been on that because there's so many people on that. It's the best non-Kiss album, but that's the story for a different day. Tony Thompson is on drums. He would go on to work with Distance, Bobby Kimball, Andy Taylor, and then you've got Michael Page on bass. So the album was produced by Beauvoir and Free, although a certain Paul Stanley of Kiss co-produced 5 of the 11 songs. He also co-wrote Winterland, and while most of the songs were written by Free and Beauvoir, we do also have some involvement by Beau Hill and Jim Valance. So as you would expect with this album being released in the mid-90s, it's a melodic rock record on a small label. This charted in my bedroom. That's the only place that it charted, where I will freely admit when I come to my part. It probably got to #1 that month. So yes, this is Crown of Thorns, and this is Crown of Thorns.
There you go. Somewhere Sal is watching, and Sal's like, "Damn, it didn't chart in Italy. Ah, a shame."
It might have done, because now and then, slowly but surely, morphed into Frontiers or was engulfed by. That's a different story.
There you go. Well, perfect fit for that. Yeah. So
there you go.
What do you think of Crown of Thorns, Simon?
It's one of those albums that you've heard of, but I'd never actually heard until Steven sent me a WeTransfer thereof, and I put it on when I went for a walk, and I thought, oh my God, it's doing that Boston thing where it starts with a ballad. Oh, it started with track 5, which is weird because track 5, as I like to call it, because track 5 really is a thing, isn't it? You know, it's just called track 5 for all you people that's been with us since the start. It's really good. It's a fucking great ballad, standing on the corner. It's just great. So much good shit going on this record. Secret Jesus is really good, and you know I like to add Y's to things. I'm going to go with Foreignery for the vocals. Yeah, Foreigner. Sorry, Lou Grammy.
Grammy.
Yeah, Grammy. Which he didn't win any of, did it? Secret Jesus is great. There are some really, really good tracks on there. You can see why people like talk about it in kind of like hushed tones at times. Not all the record. I'm going to lay into something in a minute. You know, Dying for Love, The Healer, the title track, they're all good. And you think, Tony Thompson, where have I heard that before? And it's the guy out to Chic, isn't it? I'm right, aren't I?
Yeah.
The guy out to Chic. And boy, does he twat those drums at times, doesn't he? Really, it's quite a propulsive record at times, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, very much so.
It really is. But that said, you know, are you ready? No. Just no. It's absolutely rap. It really is. But I'm very, very pleased to have finally met its acquaintance. Really pleased. Really pleased. You know, I'll tell you now, it's not going to be one that I choose, but you know, you can see why people go, oh, Crown of Thorns, like you might do occasionally, Stephen. Yeah, really good, and in many ways, it is a proper melodic rock album as well. You know, it's got melodies, it's got hooks. You can tell what the singer's saying, because he enunciates well, which is always a good thing. Yeah, very good. Very pleased to have met its acquaintance.
So yes, I have a very different journey with this album because I bought this when it came out. And yes, it's probably to do with the links with a certain band called Kiss that caused me to get in with Crown of Thorns. If you like this, Simon, there are other really good albums in the catalogue, but they do change as they move along. But you may still quite like them. Keyboard heavy later on as well. But yeah, I played this to death when it came out. Probably so much so that I had to have a rest from it for a couple of years because it was on constant rotation. And going back to it now, it still kind of has that real urgency. There's a real attack. I mean, the opening 4 songs, Crown of Thorns, Hike It Up, which is just the catchiest thing in the whole damn world, Dying for Love, and No, You Don't. If you're going to cover the suite, do it like this. I mean, that's how you do it. You attack it. You absolutely bloody well attack it. There's no point. And in terms of melodic rock album, the first 4 tracks on this album just take your head off. There's no mucking about. The vocals are just fantastic. You can't fake it. And yeah, I've said the same as Simon. The drums are just dragging everything along, whether it wants to be or not. They're just consistently pulling everyone in. It's just focusing it all, and it makes it really pointed. As I say, I mean, I love Hike It Up. I really do. So, you know, I'm not going to lie. There's a real strong flavour of, you know, maskless era Kiss here. That is. It's in the riff, it's in the solo, dare I say it's in the vocals, and Mr. Beauvoir's doing it better than Mr. Stanley, and my humble opinion, I'm a massive Kiss fan. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before. Dying for Love has got great guitar work on it. It's just so good. Same again, we say it so often. If this had arrived earlier, standing on the corner for Ya, I mean, that would still be getting airplay now if that had been released 4 or 5 years earlier than this. It's that kind of ballad. It's got enough about it. It's got such a sing-along air about it. But it's the tracks that really hit you between the eyes that make this album. The Healer, it's massive hooks. Secret Jesus, that proves that they rock hard. And Mickey Free's excellent. What a great guitar player. This is a guy that really should have been much, much better known. And yes, they absolutely 100% block the copybook. Because Are You Ready? It's rock rap crossover. I mean, I really don't need to say any more than that, do I? Why? What? Pardon? Don't. Stop it. Stop it now. It's not even the last track. So you're like, I can't even discuss that this song doesn't exist. It does. Stop it. Really like it. But as melodic rock debut albums go, I don't think they get much better than this. Love it, love it, love it.
So I had never heard this album before, but I remember hearing about this band. So like Simon, yeah, I've heard them mentioned, never investigated. 94, I was listening to other stuff, so not surprising. I will say this is a pretty fun album. I like the production. Guitars are great, cranked up to 11. The drumming is off the charts. I would agree with you. Those first 4 or 5 tracks, or at least definitely 4. The title track, Hike It Up, Dying for Love, excellent. What a great job of No You Don't. Holy cow. That's how you do a cover, right? Really, really good. Standing on the Corner for You, to me sounds kind of like a Michael Bolton reject from around the same time. But I really, it's okay. Till the End, I'm not crazy about either. But man, The Healer, Winterland, all really good. House of Love to me sounds a little bit like similar era Extreme meets like early Bon Jovi. Not too bad. I think it's a good album. The vocals are really good too. I was pleasantly surprised with this, and I always like when I hear a new album that's new to me when we do these shows, and this was really good. And after all these years, hearing about it and never listening to it, this was pretty good. I like it. Good stuff. Now,
okay, so they made an AOR album.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I know, right, okay, so there's lots to go through here. This is Syogo from 1983, released on Atco by the mighty Southern Rockers Blackfoot. This is their 6th album, and of course features the classic 4-piece lineup, bear with me, of Rick Medlock on guitars and vocals, who was and is part of Lynyrd Skynyrd. You've got Charlie Hargrett on guitars, man, he can play. Greg T. Walker on bass, links with Skynyrds and all this kind of stuff, and Jackson Spires on drums. Okay, I mean, that is the classic lineup. You wouldn't muck about with that classic lineup, but you would, because, rather controversially, you would then introduce keyboard master Ken Hensley. Okay, I mean, what? Do you know? I mean, I would go, this was almost scandalous at the time. People were like, because it just makes no sense on paper, okay? So Syogo was produced by Al Nally, who also produced bands like Brownsville Station, More, and Axe, who would also have links with Blackfoot later on with Bobby Barth and all this kind of stuff. And the album reached number 82 in the US charts. However, the previous 3 Blackfoot albums had all gone into the top 50 in the US. So this was something of a step backwards commercially for Blackfoot. And unfortunately, it would set the trend for the band as well, because everything after here falls away in terms of commercial success. So yes, this is they made an AOR album, Syogo by Blackfoot.
And Simon, you and I have talked many times about these Southern rock bands who hit kind of like a blip in the radar right around this time, 82, 83, 84, trying to do something a little bit different. Do you think Blackfoot with Syogo are more successful or less successful than some of the other ones?
I would with Syogo, but I wouldn't with Vertical Smiles. No, that's holy shit.
Yeah, that album's bad.
No, because I'm sure Blackfoot are on a different list, and so much to say. But anyway, Seoga is it's a brilliant record. I love this record. It's just fantastic. If and when we do a Blackfoot show, I'm going to have to not have this as my favorite because it's my favorite. I love it. It shouldn't work, should it? Let's get the guy from Uriah Heep in and let's just drop him into Blackfoot because they didn't really need it, did they? You know, they didn't need it. They've been making some great albums up to that point, and then your Uncle Ken turns up, and then he co-writes "Send Me an Angel," which is a fantastic start to the record. Really, really is. It's that good that Steven's dying. Just there are. Oh, don't die. Oh, do die. Okay, fair enough. This is a wonderful record. It fills my heart with happy joyness. It really does, you know. And much of it are the tracks that kind of like start with the keys and stuff. Just Send Me an Angel's great. The Heart's Growing Cold, which I believe is a Nazareth cover.
Yep.
I will now write down everything I know about Nazareth. I've no paper, but you know, I know people keep saying you've got to get into the Nas, but I've never actually done it. But that's just magnificent. It really is a great song, brilliantly done. We're going down because we are, aren't we? Yes, indeed. And hasn't that got something to do with the name of the album as well?
Yes.
It's amongst the most childish things of all, isn't it?
It's a very bad acronym that I'm sure somebody will explain in the comments, but I'm far too polite.
These were not young people at the time, were they? I hope they've grown up and they've had a word with themselves. And, you know, the ones that are still alive, you just, you know, no. But, you know, so much great stuff. Teenage Idol, oh my God, that is brilliant. You know, do you not want to be a teen? I want to be a teenage idol. It's all I want to be. All I want to be. All I want to be. And do you know what? It desperately saddens me that there are not enough albums that Rick Medlock actually sings on. And definitely not in the last 30 odd years.
Yeah.
I love his
really
voice.
Good singer. Really good singer.
He really is. You know, he's a pretty good guitarist, but he's got a voice that to me sounds like no one else. And it's hey, what should I do? Dick around, play really small venues, join Skinhead. Ah, yeah, that one will work. That one will definitely work. Yeah, but you know, I don't think there's a Duff track on this. I really like all of it. Occasionally it sounds heapy, doesn't it? A purple with the Hammonds, which you don't often get on melodic rock. But it's a proper melodic rock album, isn't it? It's, you know, it's got the hooks, it's got the melody and the earworms. Oh my God. You know, this is the one that I've listened to every day for the last few months, but since we decided to do this, where am I going? Oh, some Blackfoot. Yay. You know it makes sense. It's just a great record. I love it so much. I genuinely do. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. Just saying. Stephen, tell me how much you like it.
I love it. It's great.
Correct answer. Next, Peter. And goodbye. We're everywhere all the time.
Well, see, I had a strange relationship with this band. Not strange. You know, when you're young and you just don't join up dots, you just don't make certain connections. Okay, so when I was young, in the house we had Tom Carton, and we had Strikes, and we had Marauder. We had all the Animal groups covered on vinyl. Okay, I mean, it was almost like spending an afternoon with David Attenborough just looking at Blackfoot covers. But we also had, on one of these things, if anyone remembers one of these things, a C90, which had enough room for, at that stage, an album on each side. So we had obviously bought these albums and copied them, okay? And then loaned those albums to a friend who never gave them back. Okay, so, and on that cassette was Syogo and Vertical Smiles. And it took me an embarrassingly long time to work out that this band was also still this band. I mean, there are more similarities than I'm making out there. They're not that far apart, but there's enough to make you go, what the fuck? it is enough of a difference if you weren't, steeped in admittedly quite important history of the band when you first heard all of these things, to just not connect it, So I didn't bring any baggage of, why did they do this? I was too young for the start at that point anyway, but there you go. I just listened to this album as this album. Is it strictly AOR? Yeah, it's probably not, to be fair, but the album in the catalogue that is, and as Simon has mentioned, not going to go too deep on Vertical Smiles because we do plan on doing a Blackfoot show at some point, and it may or may not come up as possibly a favourite, or maybe at least favourite. But I'm on board right from the off here. I am absolutely on board right from the off. If you are going to take a band who had absolutely nothing needing changed in it and go out and add a completely different element, bring in a keyboard player that really genuinely, especially the fact that everyone knew who the guy was, makes everybody go, huh? Shove him right up front and centre. Let him introduce the album, make him the intro, and make it fucking great. And if you do all those things, then you would hope that everyone would go, okay, I'm on board. I mean, the introduction to this album, it's something that Greg Gioffre would have gone, I could steal that, it's that good. Or Magnum might have gone, oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. But Send Me an Angel backs it all up. There's still twin guitars. The whole thing gallops. The rhythm section's just bang on it. That's how to start an album. Big, grandiose, over the top, and then the song just comes and knocks you sideways. Let's get on with it now. But Crossfire, for me, reveals a little bit more of what's really going on here. Okay, because I think that they may just have heard a little bit of Graham Bonnet era Rainbow. This band may just have heard that era Rainbow. It's a guess. It's just a guess, but it's still really good. Okay. But it's where Going Down takes that idea and shoves it in a boogie direction. And yes, we've hinted that there's a bit more kind of purplish and all that kind of big Hammond action. It's quite Whitesnake. It's got that kind of boogie about it. It's got that kind of feel about it. There's real groove that's there. It's just really good. But what, to me, with hindsight, obviously not at the time, really holds it together is this is still a Blackfoot album, and the guitar solos. The guitar solos still sing in the way that you would expect them to have done on the 3 albums specifically that came before this one. So yes, but then you've got Since You've Been Gone, going in circles. Okay, I mean, okay, there's being inspired, and then there's maybe rewriting a song that already exists. And I would suggest that we've maybe put 10 toes over that line here, and it's the only song I listen to where I kind of think to myself, everybody's going, is this a good idea, do you think? Should we really do this? Do you think so? Even the guitar solo kind of goes, yeah, well, I'm not sure. It's good. I like it. It's okay. Everything. Yes, Simon.
It's only because it wasn't a hit that there wasn't a rate, isn't it? Because it's just that blindingly obvious, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
We could be talking about Ray Parker Jr. levels of fun at this point, couldn't we? If this album hadn't have bombed, which it really did, didn't it? Which is astonishing.
Kind of did, yeah. When I listened to this the first time, went back to this, and yes, I've different versions of it on CD sitting here. I put it on YouTube just because of where I was at the time. And even now, all these years later, the song started and I kind of went, is this one of these playlists where some guys managed to ram one of his own songs in there to ramp up the hits on it? So you put the whole album, and then here at track number 5 comes me on bass, going, blah, 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 and suddenly I'll have 26,000 hits because I'm in the middle of Sayogo. And I thought, oh no, that was always there. But anyway, Sail Away, oh, it's another massive slap of boogie goodness. Driving Full, oh yeah. I mean, I love the album opens in fantastic fashion. It's total opposite of Third Stage. The album opens in fantastic fashion. The album closes in fantastic fashion. And what a vocal. What a vocal. This is how to leave you. I mean, breathless. It leaves you breathless. It's just fantastic. I mean, you can imagine him standing like this at the. It's just so good, so good. And I mean, Ken Hensley didn't really get all that involved in songwriting. He's involved in 3 tracks here, but he's brilliant on this album. He's absolutely brilliant on this album, and he's everywhere on this album too. Not in a bad way. He doesn't dominate. He doesn't come and say it's the Ken Hensley show. He just seems to add colour and oomph and direction, and he's almost the gel that holds this whole thing together. And considering how damn tight the band are, wow, that's how to do it. Why they didn't? I mean, and I know why they didn't, because it didn't sell in their terms. Why they didn't stick with this for longer, I don't know, because what comes after takes this as an idea and does something else with it entirely. But this, if you're ever one of these people, and I know I do an awful lot of this kind of stuff, that goes, oh, it's not really Blackfoot. No. Anyway, quite like this, can you tell?
I will agree with both of you. I am a fan of this. It's not my favorite Blackfoot album, but it's up there. It's up there. And I remember when they first announced that this was the new lineup, you know, we were all like, what? First of all, they don't need Ken Hensley as much as we love Ken Hensley, because I was a big Uriah Heep fan. I was like, it's British guy, Southern band. They don't need keyboards. But then you listen to it and you're like, holy cow, right? I mean, Send Me an Angel is amazing. Crossfire is amazing. The cover, the Nazareth cover, is really good. We're Going Down is really good. Teenage Idol is brilliant. Stephen, I would go one step further than what you were saying before. Go back to like 1982, 83. Ken's former band has a resurgence. They released Abominog and Head First with a kind of a new sound, ready for the 80s, a little bit of new wave of British heavy metal, a little bit of like American AOR melodic rock, right? This kind of foreigner thing. That's kind of going on here a little bit too. It's almost like Ken's like, well, this is what they're doing. This is what my old band's doing. We can inject that into Blackfoot and, you know, do some great things. But it works. I mean, Sail Away is terrific. Driving Fool, so good. But there's enough scorching, kick-ass Southern rock on this album, but with like kind of like a glossy sheen and all those Ken Hensleyisms, because he's there. You hear that Hammond organ, you hear that little bit of piano and synth, a little bit of slide guitar there as well too. It really works, and it's amazing that. Granted, you both mentioned that this album was kind of a flop. It basically was, but how they went completely south with the next album, that like just took all the goodness from this and just delivered bland pop that just doesn't work for this band, right? It's just because, quite frankly, I think the Net Vertical Smiles represents all that we thought this was going to be, and it actually wasn't, because all of our worries for this album, that was Vertical Smiles. This is not. So I would agree with both of you. This is a terrific album. Like I said, not my absolute favorite from this band, because, you know, Marauder and Tomcatton, and, you know, it's hard to top those albums, but this is a banger of an album that if you're a Blackfoot fan, or if you're new to Blackfoot, don't miss out on this one, because there's some really, really, really great songs on here. Good production too. So
it's interesting as well. We spoke about cover versions with the Crown of Thorns album, and that's how to do a cover version. If you're going to do a cover version, then, well, I always think there's 3 ways of doing a cover version. You either do it very faithful, and just say this is the song, or you do what Crown of Thorns did and you say, do you know what, we'll take that song, we'll make it our own. You'll know it's us. If you don't know the original, you won't think, oh, that's a cover version. Or you do what Hearts Gone Cold is, and you just completely reinvent it. You go listen to the Nazareth song, it has absolutely no relation to what's been done here at all. It's slow, it's plaintive, it's beautiful, it's a really nice song. I can't even listen to that song and think, do you know what? I would listen to that and go, do you know what it needs to be done? It needs to have massive organs in it, and it needs to have a great riff through it, and I need to sing that chorus as if my life depends on it. It's nothing to do with the original.
And they didn't pick an obvious Nazareth song, right? Because you could have picked any one of 3, 4, 5 tracks. They didn't. I mean, Hearts Gone Cold is not a big Nazareth song.
No, but it's such a good version. I love it when a band just takes a cover version and you can't listen to them together and you go, oh, that is the same song. But if you haven't heard either of them or one or the other, you do genuinely have to go, is it the same song? Oh, it's brilliant. It's really clever. Really, and the backing vocals by, I believe, are credited to Lala, all capital letters, are outstanding on it. I have no idea who that is or what it is. Somebody may, if you can tell me, please do.
Yeah.
Really good.
So I guess we have a question to answer here.
We do, yes. So the question is, if you can only keep one of these 3 albums, Simon, which one of these 3 albums are you going to keep? I think I may be able to answer this question for you, but on you go.
That's right. No, it's Blackfoot. You know it's Blackfoot. I know it's Blackfoot. And if it's not Blackfoot, I'm going to eat these flowers that have been just hanging there for the entire duration of the thing. I keep meaning to move them, but I thought, fuck it, let's leave them till the end.
There you go.
Let's eat the flowers. Let's be Erman through. Yeah. By reference, back of the net. All right.
Okay, so there's 1 vote for Blackfoot. Pete, if you can only keep one of these 3 albums, which one will you keep? Oh, there you go. Okay, so that leaves me to either make it a full house, possibly the first one ever, or to go out on a limb. I mean, I adore the Crown of Thorns album. I absolutely adore it. It really marks a period of time in my life, and music had in many ways gone down the tubes for me. I found it really difficult to find stuff that I really, really liked at that point. It was a beacon for me, that album. But it's this all day long. It's just such a good album, such an underrated album. I absolutely adore it. I mean, without getting ahead of it, Blackfoot are my southern rock band, and I love that album. It's really, really, really good.
Hold on. Where's the fucking confetti? I ordered the confetti. It's the first 3-1 that we've done. Where is it? Jesus, you're fired. Sorry. I had one job. One job, didn't I?
You failed. Sorry.
Epic fail.
So I assume somewhere down the road we are going to be doing our least favorite Blackfoot albums after this, right? We have to. We have to.
No, we've said that we're going to.
Yes.
Well, the pressure is on. I think we should maybe leave it a little.
No, yeah.
Because we may have given 1 or 2 spoilers here. But yes, we need to cover this catalogue. Absolutely, we do.
Yeah, it's down the road. We've got a lot coming before then. So, Steven, why don't you give everybody a little hint of what they can expect in 2 weeks from today?
Okay, so we are ranking the songs on a classic album in 2 weeks' time. And this is an album that I may or may not have ever heard in my life up until this point. And it is the Rossington Collins Band with Any Time, Any Place, Anywhere. Now, I would like to put it out there, even before that show has started, that 2 of those things are the same. Okay? I mean, there's any time, yep. Okay? There's any place, and there's anywhere. Okay? I mean, okay? I mean, we spoke about Dennis Waterman before. He understood right people, right time, just the wrong location. 3 different things, okay? Anytime, any place, anywhere. That's 2 different things. Okay. Anyway, that is what we're doing in 2 weeks' time. Ranking the songs.
That's weird because I brought something completely different to show. So it's a good job you didn't throw it to me. I would have said entirely the wrong thing.
Okay. What did you think?
Well, it'd give away what we're doing after that, wouldn't it? If I did that.
Okay, that's fine because I have the schedule in front of me with pretty colours on, everybody.
Shows how often I look at that schedule.
Yeah, I looked today, so I was not surprised here. So yeah,
I slave over this for months, everybody, months, and I come on and see, and Simon goes, "We're doing what?"
I had everything. Look, you can't see the back of it, but I had things.
You suggested this one.
No, I didn't know it was next though. And you know what? That's just how this fortnightly thing rolls. I did suggest it shortly after Gary Rossington died, didn't I?
Yes, it was timely. Yeah,
to do something that wasn't Skinner to pay tribute to the great man. Because I tell you now, I think it's a great record. But here we are, a couple of years later, it feels like. But yeah. Keeping it real, keeping it today.
The Rossington Collins Band, the debut. next here on the UK Connection. A very fine album, and it'll be interesting to kind of rank the songs because, and that's another, Simon, I'm sure you'll agree, that's another album that I think is sequenced very, very well. So we will have to kind of deconstruct it somewhat. That's what we do on these ranking the songs on the classic albums, right? So stay tuned for that in 2 weeks from today. And between now and then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. And I promise I will have something a little stronger than iced tea next time we meet. So till then, for Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Please, down in the comments below, let us know what you think of these 3 melodic rock AOR albums and which one you like the most. And till next time, for Simon and Steven, I am Pete. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Take care.